Hey Trader, welcome back to another episode of Top Tier Trader Interviews. My name is Brittany Hughes and I am so thrilled to be here. I feel like a few of you are going to know who our guest, Derek Vandy, is. But for those of you who don't know, Derek Vandy, welcome to the interview.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Top Tier, everyone at Top Tier. Uh, I love the platform. I am good friends with some of the owners. So it's definitely enjoyable to be here and, support the cause.
Yeah, well, thank you again for being here so much. For those individuals who aren't familiar with you and with your story, side note, I am not familiar with you or with your story, so I'm extremely excited to be here to get to know you a little bit more. But I want to talk a little bit before trading, before even diving into trading. I want to know what your life looked like before you even discovered what trading was.
So, man, I was a C student, if that D student. I hated school. I always told my teachers, like, I'm not going to need this. Why do I need this? So that's how my school journey was. In high school, I was always trying to find ways to make extra money outside of whatever I had to do. I've been on my own since I'm 16.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of life experience. After high school, I went straight fitness. Actually blew up on Instagram before my account got hacked and stolen and whatnot. So that was a fun journey. But that's where kind of my entrepreneurial journey started. And then I got brought in to IML, and that's where I learned about what trading is. And I left very quickly.
Got it. Got it. So did you always know that you were going to do something that was a little bit more unconventional in a way?
I prayed about it.
Okay.
And it seemed to happen. And as soon as I got into trading, I instantly fell in love. So I spent, man, probably the first year just on the charts constantly, at least 12 hours a day, at least. Like I was still working when I first started,
And what were
but
you doing
I
at
was
that
building
time?
Scaffold.
And what does that
So
mean?
it's just hard labor, and it was
Okay.
really hard. So what I would do is I'd be in these big like digester tubes. I'd build scaffold up to the top so that they could make sure there's no cracks or anything in these digester tubes. And they're probably anywhere from 5 to 10 stories high. But anyways, I'd be in these tubes for sometimes 12 to 14 hours at a time, and it was miserable. I mean, there's no sunlight. You're just like passing steel up. So that was miserable. And then as soon as I had my first, like, I think it was $1,000 a day, I quit. I was like, I'm done. And luckily, it paid off. It paid off. It could have turned out bad, but it
Yeah,
worked
but you
out for
took a
me.
risk on
I
yourself.
did. I did.
When you first discovered trading, you said it was through IML, and I feel like a lot of people have that resonance story. Did when you discovered what trading was, were you like, okay, this is it? Like this is what I'm going to pursue?
Yes, 100%. I went all in because, I mean, and it probably wasn't the best thing. Like my first trade I took, I won. And it was like some signal that some kid called, and I don't know. But I woke up to profit, and I was like, dang, I can just withdraw this at any time. Because before you're in trading, you don't realize, like, wow, you can just like trade, make a bunch of money, and withdraw it. And so, like, it wasn't real to me until that happened. And as soon as that happened, I went all in.
Yeah, I mean, from discovering trading, making money on your first trade, which I feel like, I mean, is wonderful, and going all in, you can kind of look at it from both lenses of like that's very risky
Yeah.
to put everything on the line and decide that this is what I'm going to do, not really knowing like the road that's ahead, because it's,
Yeah.
as we both know, it's not just I've won my first trade, now I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
And so what was that journey like for you from making your first trade, winning, and then kind of understanding like, okay, this is more than just printing money?
For sure, for sure. So obviously, I won blue accounts, blue
Yeah.
accounts, blue accounts, and I actually got lucky. I got lucky. I got some money, and I turned $250 into like, and this is like probably a 3 or 4 month period of time. Got very lucky.
Okay.
I do want to say this, but I shorted GBP JPY during Brexit and made a ton of money on that trade. Like I
Okay.
said, I got so lucky because it could have turned out totally the opposite way. And that kind of just launched me into the path that I'm in today.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. When it comes to, I mean, you're accrediting. I don't want to accredit all of it to luck because,
That
of
was definitely
course,
luck. Because if I
yeah,
look back at myself, like I'm totally a person that's honest with myself.
of
Like, I mean, I was
course.
not even a year in to trading. I didn't know near the stuff that I knew now. Um, but I got lucky.
Okay.
So, uh, but I did put in the work. I will say that. Like I put in the work. I had a little bit of a strategy, but it was more of like a, hey, if this trade doesn't work out, I'm blowing my account.
Mm,
That was but I got good entries and a lot of the times it did work out. And as you're growing the account, as you're building something, and that's where I was at in this point, uh, I took some money out, bought a car.
okay.
My psychology totally went downhill after that because I'm trying to make the money that I bought the car with back, end up losing
Mm,
another huge chunk. And it took me time. It took me quite a bit of time of going through these like ups and downs to realize like, hey, this is where I need to be. And these are the things that I need to do if I want to be consistent at this.
totally. I kind of look at trading as going to at least a 4-year university. Your freshman year, maybe you're catching some luck, right? Things are
Yeah.
fresh, things are exciting. Maybe you have these rose-colored glasses. And then when you get to your sophomore year or second year, it's kind of like the sophomore slumps where it's just like, okay, things are real now. I'm having to manage psychology is a huge point.
Hmm.
I feel that comes into your sophomore year, and then your junior, your senior, and then hopefully you can graduate. Where were you in that process when you said you bought a car, then you had to really tap into managing your psychology? Like, where in your journey were you at that point?
Oh man, I was a sophomore for
Okay.
sure. Maybe even still a freshman, to be honest with
Okay.
you. But I went from like a freshman to a senior, and very quick because I'm the type of person that like after I do it to myself. I beat myself up and I put myself in this hole, and then that's when I learned my lesson.
Like back against the wall,
Back
and you have
against
no
the
other
wall,
choice.
exactly.
Okay.
Back against the wall, no other choice. And I went through a lot of life stuff in between these last 7 years of trading. A lot of life stuff that also played into me growing as a trader because I had kids and uh, just so many different things have happened. My mom died, my dad had already passed away, so I went through this life stuff of like I have to do it now. I have to be a freaking man and make it happen. And when you're in that situation, like you have to either like be real with yourself and dive in and do the things that you need to do in order to get to where you want to be. And that's what I did, and I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it, but what separates me is that I catch on when I'm doing the wrong things, and then I fix it.
Yeah.
Instead of just keep doing it, and
That's key.
that's where most people are. They'll just keep doing the wrong things. But I put myself in that corner where I ultimately had to change, and I had to stop putting myself in that situation.
Yeah. You mentioned that you were going, I mean, life happens, right? And
Yeah.
life doesn't stop just because we want to learn the skill set of trading. If
Yeah.
anything, it feels like life kind of doubles down on us and makes us prove to ourselves that, okay, this is something I actually desire to do and I'm going to make it happen. How did you manage your psychology when life was being thrown at you and you knew you still had to show up and follow through on the thing you set out to do?
You know, at that point, I had money saved from trading. So, and this is
Okay.
what I tell people to do. If you're going through life stuff, like that's kind of the point of why I do what I do. So if I need to take a month off, I can. And so that's what I did. When my mom died, I think I took 3 months off. Doesn't mean that I didn't look at the charts, but I didn't place trades. Just anything where I'm in a situation where I feel like my psychology is not in a strong point, I take a step back because I know I'm going to make irrational decisions when I'm in that mindset. So ultimately, I took a step back. I didn't come back until I knew that I was ready mentally. My mom passed. I had my daughter, and it was all in that same time. So I was dealing with a
Okay.
lot of life stuff. So, but after 3 months, I came back and I was killing it. I was
Okay.
killing it. So,
Did you come back with a vengeance, or did you come back and you were maybe scaling down your risk a little bit to ease back into it? What was your comeback?
I just came back smooth mind. Like my mind was like, because I think looking at charts so much, I still say this to my students. Like, if you can afford to take a month off, like take a month off because it's hard sitting there looking at charts, and especially, I mean, this is almost my 8th year in, and there hasn't been a day probably in the last 8 years that's been a market where the market's been going where I haven't at least looked at the charts. So it gets almost like mentally consuming, and that's where I think it's good to take a step back and clear your head and do other stuff like get outside. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other stuff we can do, but
Yeah.
that's I think that's so good.
Yeah.
And I understand that's not everyone's reality, but it wouldn't have been my reality 7 years ago either. But I put myself in that situation where I did allow it to be my reality.
Yeah. I found that for me personally, less that I'm consumed with it, the better I do.
Yeah, exactly.
So being able, like you said, to take a step away, have it be a week, 2 weeks, a month even. I took the month off of October just because, again, life was doubling down on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, in order for me to show up and be the trader that I desire to be, I know I need to take a step back, still study. I'm still back testing. I'm still looking at how everything played out for the day. But being able to take that step back in November, I feel so much more clear-minded. I feel so much more intentional and purposeful
Yeah.
and excited to wake up so early in Arizona for New
Right.
York session.
Hey, at least it's 7:30 now.
That time change,
I didn't know what was going on.
changed me.
Me too. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like sitting there and I'm like, bro, the market's not moving. It's 6:30 in the morning.
Oh,
What's
no.
going on?
You have another hour.
Exactly. It made me so happy though. Like,
Yeah.
I texted my boy. It's like, yo, did daylight savings happen here? Because in Arizona we don't have
Yeah,
it.
we don't
so that's
have
why
it.
it's confusing for us
Yeah.
people in Arizona.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
that I'm slow or anything.
No,
right?
no. No one would have said that. I was thinking it, but no, I'm just kidding.
Right?
I want to talk about one of your biggest trading mistakes. If you can draw on a time where you made either, we can talk on a mistake that you didn't know better, or a mistake where, let's do both. A mistake where you didn't know better, and the mistake where you knew it was a mistake when you were making it, but you made it anyways. Can you draw on anything like that?
So like we're not knowing better. Like that's just not knowing the market well enough.
Yeah.
Like now I have certain systems in place for myself where if the market does something, I know whether I should get in or shouldn't get it. And that comes with me knowing price action very well. So if price action is going with my trade, then I'm going to take that trade or be more prone to take that trade. If price actions is going against my trade setup, and this is what I used to do, is I used to trade against the trend. Now I have a system for that. Like,
Okay.
it doesn't mean that I don't trade against the trend because there's some good moves against the trend.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I will say is that that's my C setup, and I risk only 0.5 on that setup compared to an A plus setup where it's like, okay, I can risk 2% on this trade.
Okay.
So
And before you touch on your mistake, you brought up a good point. I want to talk about what your strategy is. Like you said that was your C strategy. What's the A plus setup that you normally like to take?
So everything in my strategy is based on confluences in the market, right? So there's confluences that line up. Now, if these confluences line up, plus the TDI on my chart, which is an indicator, I'm sure many people have heard about it, but it's my absolutely favorite indicator and pretty much the only thing besides moving averages that I really utilize in my
Okay.
strategy anymore. But anyways, if there's confluences and the TDI lines up, that's when I take my trades.
Okay.
So it's a mixture of confluences, price action, technical analysis, and an indicator. But it's simplified. It's very simple. So I have 3 setups. My A plus setups are always going to be going with the trend with at least 3 or 4 confluences with that trade. A B setup's going to be Going with the trend, not as many confluences. A C setup's going to be going against the trend, but still good confluences. That could be a higher high on a trend line with a TDI confluence.
Okay.
So that's going to be my C setup. And they're all the same methodology.
Okay.
It's all using confluences, all doing the same thing, but I just know which ones are more prone to working. So that's why I do my risk how I do it. But there's multiple things in trading, in my trading, that goes into the strategy. Maybe it's how I stack in if I'm in drawdown. Like for example, let's say I'm going to do a 1 to 3 risk to reward on my trade. And I know that it's maybe not the best time to enter, but it is a point in the market where the market can't reverse. Let's say I get in that trade and I get some drawdown, and I'm like, dang, this trade's still looking really nice. I'm in drawdown on that first entry. Well, that's when, and I'll allow myself 3 entries.
Okay.
So that's my thing. I allow myself 3 entries. First entry is always going to be that 1 to 3. As I stack in and drawdown, my stop loss gets smaller. So it could be like a 1 to 5 on that second entry, because I'm going to use that stop loss I used on the first entry. And then on that third entry that I take, it's going to be, okay, maybe a 1 to 7 because it's in more drawdown. Maybe I'm getting super close to my stop loss, but it's still a really nice area. I'll stack in again. And I have no issue doing that. And those are the types of trades where you'll see me win 10, 11, 12, 13% on a trade if I do it right, and if the trade flows how I want it to flow.
So you have your confluences, you know exactly what it is you're looking for because you've been doing this for a really long time. I mean, you're still also human.
Yes.
So with all of that in mind, you have your own set of rules that you abide by, which everyone should have. And we still make mistakes.
Yes.
And so what would you say, now going back to that original question, what's the biggest or just a mistake that you can draw from that you made? Have it be that you got greedy, maybe you were a little bit fearful, or maybe you had FOMO, whatever the case may be.
I've already overcome all that stuff. Like,
Okay.
I'm not afraid. I don't over leverage. I don't get greedy. I've been through too much life stuff to have that stuff matter anymore.
Yeah.
That's just the truth of it. Like, when my emotions, and this is what helps me as a trader, is like my emotions are gone. When it comes to trading, being in drawdown, like nothing's going to faze me. I already know my outcome, whether it's a loss or a win. It's just when I enter that trade and managing that trade. But, one thing that I think every trader, they have their downfalls, right?
Totally.
They have their things that they're not great at. And for me, I sometimes don't enter enough trades.
Okay.
Sometimes I wait too long to enter the trade, and then I miss my full move. That's something that I'm working on. Like, for example, maybe I'll call a signal, and it'll be like, okay, 5 pips above the entry. What I've noticed about myself is I wait for the absolute perfect spot to enter instead of giving myself a little bit of room to get some drawdown so I can add entries. So that's my biggest thing that I struggle with, is maybe not entering enough in trades. I'm a type of person, maybe I'll get 3 to 5 trades a month.
Okay.
But I think it's also a strong attribute because
You're not over trading.
Yeah, and most people overtrade. I'd say 99% of traders overtrade, and I'd say that's a huge portion of why 99% of traders are not profitable. When I get into a trade and I'm in that trade, I'm only in that one trade and I'm managing that one trade. All my focus is on that one trade instead of having to focus on 10 different trades at once. And then when I exit that trade, I'm not looking to get into another trade. I'm looking to take in my profits or my loss, observe, see how things are going, see how I'm feeling, but I'm not looking to enter another trade. I want to enter, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'll look at the charts, of course, but I'm not going to enter another trade unless, of course, it's perfect. But
that's good to hear, because I know for you, compared to you've been at this for nearly 8 years. I'm just getting over my sophomore slump, which feels really good to be able to say. And I'm looking forward to being able to say, I'm past greed, I'm past fear, I'm past FOMO. And I know that a lot of individuals who are taking the top tier challenges, they're facing those very real enemies,
Oh, for
in
sure.
the market. And so you're past them at this point, but if you could go back in time, and what was the enemy that had you? Was it Greer? Was it fear? Was it FOMO?
The times where I did the worst is when I needed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I needed the money.
Yeah.
That's when I did the worst. So I think overcoming that, and back then we didn't have the opportunity to do these funded challenges. Like I would have been 10 light years ahead if I had that opportunity in year 3. Like honestly, we had to basically try to run nothing up to something,
Yeah.
and then keep running that up. That was me anyways, until I got to a 6-figure account, and then it was different. But it's for me, like my biggest mistakes when I took my big losses was me seeing the account at negative $8,000 drawdown, knowing in my head that I should close right now because this is a major move that's going against me, and not closing until I was negative 40K in drawdown. That's the type of stuff that if traders could just eliminate that, and they could
Yeah.
just say, yep, this is my stop loss, let it hit, let it ride, I'm risking 2% on this trade, dude, you'd be so much better off. But
Yeah.
people just let those things ride.
Well, in your experience, do you feel like you need to have those gut punches in order for you to fully experience it, to know like that's not something that I need to have a stop loss in place. Like I need to have a system in place so it doesn't get that bad again.
It surely seems that we're designed that way, right?
Yeah.
Where we just need to be slapped in the face a couple times, lay on our back, and, just get pummeled on. It seems like we need that in order to learn. Now, if you can overcome that stuff without taking the beatings, that's great. I'm not sure because I took the
Yeah.
beatings.
Yeah.
I've like right now I'm in the middle of writing a trading book.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's on like everything that I believe you need in order to be a profitable trader.
Okay.
And that's, I don't know when it's going to be out or whatnot, but the outline's ready and it's ready to go. But I believe that there's just things that you need, and maybe you do need to go through some bad experiences in order to learn. But if you could bypass those bad experiences,
Yeah.
and I think you can, I really think you can. I think if you keep your risk management in play, and like if you can just do that, like you're 10 steps ahead of what I was. I didn't even know what risk management was back then.
Without giving too much away, what are those key factors that you think that every trader needs in order to be
Oh
successful?
man, there's so many different things, but I think one of the main things is having a system for everything you do as a trader, as far as from like knowing what lot size you should use. Like how are you learning what lot size you should use for your account size? Like are you just guessing? Because that's going to hold you back. So figure out a game plan for how you're going to figure out what lot size you're going to use. Whether, you put it in the calculator and it shows you, it's that extra 5 to 10 seconds of work. But it's doing that stuff. It's, observing your losers. It's so much more than that. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
say 99% of our problems are caused by our psychology as traders, which I think psychology is greed, fear. I think that's all included in psychology. But also, there's so many traders that are so unconfident in their trading. And for me, and that's why I love my system, because when those dots connect, I'm so confident in my trade. And I know my system so well that I'm so confident. Like I want to take that trade. But then there's the thing. So for when I enter a trade, right, I am premeditating when I'm going to take that trade. I want the market to go up or down to a certain area. As soon as it gets to that area, that's when I'm really ready to attack. But if it doesn't come to that area, which it doesn't many of times, then, that's like, oh, dang, dude, that would have been such a good trade if it would have just did that. But it's staying out of those trades.
Yeah.
That's what's really helped me is having that area not entering unless it hits that area. I don't think a lot of people have that discipline.
The discipline, yeah, to be able to not only have a system and have a plan, but to stick to it.
Yeah,
Like no
exactly.
matter what, because
Exactly.
at the end of the day, even if it doesn't come to, your area of interest, but it goes and it does exactly what you want it to do, you not entering that trade because it didn't meet your requirements will build that confidence. Because at the end of the day, I've learned, you could say the hard way,
Yeah.
that by taking trades that like don't meet exactly all of my requirements, but I can just feel intuitively that it's going to go my way, and taking that trade and winning those trades don't feel as good as winning the trades that match up and that allowed for you to follow all of your rules.
Yep.
That I would consider is like a good bad trade to win, whereas there's like good trades to win, and those are the ones
And
that
you're
you
not
want
the
to
only
win.
one that experiences
Yeah.
that, right? Like,
Yeah.
for example, Euro JPY had a very nice trade. Now, it didn't line up with anything besides some confluences on the higher time frames. It didn't align with anything necessarily in my strategy, but I wanted to take it so bad. I wanted to short it so bad because I knew what was going to happen. I didn't, because I couldn't find my entry because I didn't have the right confluences for my entry. So I didn't take it. Yeah, it dropped, 150 pips or something like that. But that's just that thing where it's like, yeah, I could have made a bunch of money on that, but if I get myself in that habit of doing that and going against my rules, even if it's going to be a winning trade, that's going to really ultimately set me back, because then I'm going to start doing that more and more.
And that's kind of what deteriorates your confidence, because you also aren't sure if you're like, okay, is my system working? Like, does my system work? Because if I don't abide by my system, how do I know if my system is even
Yo.
profitable? And I think that, has your trading changed from the beginning? Like, did you start off with certain strategies and that's sort of evolved into what you're doing now? Or have you always had a tried and true?
I think I'm probably one of the only traders that can say this, but I've stuck with the same strategy. Now, I didn't have a mentorship or anything, so it's all self-taught, all things that I
Wow.
noticed in the market. Did I add to it? Absolutely. But it's all the same precipice of what I was doing in the beginning. Just better things added, more of a system added.
Yeah. So no mentor, self-taught.
No, I've watched my fair share of YouTube
Yeah.
videos on price action, technical analysis,
Of
and
course.
whatnot. But I only needed to watch it once before it was like, I have a really good pattern recognition. Like, I test top 100% in pattern
Wow.
recognition, which I think helps as a trader,
Totally,
obviously. I mean, the
yeah.
market's patterns. So, having that, and some people are just like naturally better at trading, I would say.
Yeah.
They can see the patterns better, whatnot. Whatever it is, some people have just got it and some people don't.
Did you have any role models that you, and role model is I feel like it's such a silly word, but did you have anyone that you looked up to and that you studied, even though you didn't have like someone directly teaching you what to do, like through books, through videos?
I've been a loner.
Okay.
I didn't have anyone that I was like, I watched my first like training video when I was in IML. Someone sent me the bootleg version of the market maker method, and that's the only one I ever watched. If you were to watch that right now, if I was to watch that right now, I'd probably be like, dude, this is weird, because there's just like so much randomness. From what I remember, but I did catch some things that they weren't even really talking about in the training, where I'm like, all right, I'm using that and I'm going to turn it into my own strategy. And that's what I did.
Okay. What legacy do you want to leave behind with trading? You've been at this for 8 years. You say you have a book on the way, which is really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's big time.
Yeah.
What's the legacy that you're wanting to leave behind when it comes to trading specifically?
It's just more of like setting a good example for traders. And that's all I'm trying to do, is set a good example, because I've been through the highs and lows. I know exactly what's going on in the industry. I know what it really takes to be a profitable trader. And so that's why it's actually, it hurts me to watch people trade how they trade, because so many people are just like account flippers, and I hate watching it, because there's so much power in having consistency in your life.
Yeah.
And if you're just trying to flip accounts to make your living, it's not consistent.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. So that's why it's like, if you can find a way to be consistent in your trading, then you have so much stinking opportunity as a trader. It's like, I'm only in year 7, and like, I'm getting ready to be funded over $5 million in accounts. And when that happens, and I know, like, I have no like inkling that I'm not going to pass.
Yeah.
Like, it's just too easy because of my system and what I have in place. I'd literally have to mathematically lose like 10 trades in a row to lose this thing. Which just isn't going to happen. But that is part of like, holy cow, dude. All I need to do is 5% a month after that, and I'm making $500K a month. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's things like that is so stinking powerful as a trader, and like you can just keep scaling up.
Life changing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing that I would have done differently is I would have kept track of my track record better.
Okay.
So I have a good track record for the last 2 years, but before that, it's kind of like this account, that account. Because whenever I'd lose, I'm like weird in my head. I'd lose a big trade. Maybe it was 1/3 of my account. Be like, I'm starting fresh.
That's how
I'm starting fresh. So that's what I would do. You know, I would go put money into a new account, just transfer it over. But I wish that I would have, you know, kept my track record for the past. And, you know, I do have, I guess, my Coinbase withdrawals and whatnot, but like, and I'm sure 1,000 screenshots somewhere in my Google Drive. But, you know, that's one thing that I would have done better at. I would have done better at tracking my trades and journaling my trades. And, you know, you hear people saying it, but it's that just extra minute of work that not a whole lot of people want to do.
That makes a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds like you're just wanting to be the guy that just can prove that it can be done. It can be done, and in a good way, like in the right way, per se.
Exactly,
Like,
in the right way.
All it takes is these, like you mentioned, it's going to come out in your book, these systems to follow, to remain disciplined, to be consistent, to grow an account. And like, these things can happen if you just, I believe, just to see it through, but just to see it through in the right way. Don't try to have the shortcuts. Don't try to flip the accounts here and there. Just stick to it. And I mean, I don't want to say dream, because similar to you and your confidence of having, was it 5 million in funding? I have so much unwavering confidence in my ability, and honestly, any trader's ability that is really focused and centered on making this thing happen.
Oh, for sure.
And so I am excited for the day when I'm, 7 years in, nearly 8 years in, being able to say the things that you're saying.
Well, that's
really cool.
The cool part about this too, for the people that are starting new. I mean, you can cut that time into 3 years.
Yeah,
I
totally.
didn't have any of the training or any of that. It was all trial and error and whatnot. So you can cut that time into 3 years, but you really have to start off doing the things right. And that's where it's like, okay, what are the right things? That's what we first have to figure out. What are the right things that I need to be doing statistically, probability-wise, to make me a profitable trader? And, if you look at it probability-wise, everyone should be able to be a profitable trader.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Seriously. You have a 1 to 3, you have to win 2 trades out of 10 or 3 trades out of 10 to be profitable. I mean, I hope you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the work and with the right work, it's something that can be attained by almost anyone who dedicates their self to actually learning it and to abiding by the rules and remaining disciplined and focused.
For sure.
Totally. This has been so great.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I want to leave the traders with just a little bit of value. I mean, this has been so value packed for however long we've been chatting, but take away key elements. I'm such a big reader. Do you read?
I do read.
Listen to audiobooks? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you could draw back to, let's say, your top 2 books when it comes to either trading, have it be technical or have it be psychology, what 2 books do you recommend that people tap into other than your own? That's coming out soon.
Man. So there's one that's called The Way of the Turtle. It's a pretty good one. It just kind of teaches you to how to, wait for your setups, how to wait for what you need to wait for to take a trade.
Patience, would you say?
Yeah,
okay.
Patience, definitely. Patience, definitely. That's another thing is like trading. It's like profitable trading is boring, is what I truly believe. And it's, we've got a lot of guys flashing a lot of stuff online and stuff. But like, if it came down to it and the only way they could make money was trading, and if they needed to survive just off trading, I would give you 9 out of 10 of those people wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
A lot of smoke and mirrors, It's like, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, let's take all these trades, blah, blah, blah. I'm calling a signal. It's easy to do that. But if it's like, okay, I have $10,000 to my name and I have to make this work, or I have to go back to McDonald's. Like 9 out of 10 guys are doing it, or are going back to McDonald's. Guarantee that. But
second book,
sorry.
It's okay.
ADHD, man.
And it doesn't even have to be trading related, but a book that's helped you in your trading journey.
Man, there's just been so many, but I think it's honestly just life experiences that's helped me the most. Life experiences. I'm not going to give some like line answer because I do the Way of the Turtle was a good one, but I haven't read a trading book in years, so I'm not going to give like a fake answer because most of my stuff that I've learned has been self-taught and just learning from my mistakes. And I think that's one of the biggest things is learn from your mistakes and also know what you need to do to get to where you want to be. If you don't even know, then that's your first
That's where we
step.
got to start.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Derek. This has been fantastic. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in to the Top Tier Traders interview. And I'm excited to see what else is to come for you. Where can people find you?
My Instagram is Derek_Vandy. I want to say my YouTube is the same thing. So Derek_Vandy, tradersociety.com. And yeah, I'm sure you'll be seeing me around.
Okay, great. Make sure, again, to like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. And comment down below what was the biggest takeaway that you got from our conversation. I know I could type a paragraph below, so I'll be doing that after this. But again, I just want to say thank you so much.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.